So we're going to start off with Chicago Heights. They're using TeacherEase, and it started off with using our SchoolInsight SIS. And she went through, and the school district went through a transition to standards-based grading. So she's going to share that with you. So with that, Michelle, it's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe, for the nice introduction. And thank you for inviting me to share today. I just want to say what an amazing partnership it's been with TeacherEase and Common Goal Systems. You guys have been wonderful. So we wouldn't have been able to do this as smoothly as we did without that partnership. So yes, our journey began, well, I will say I was a kindergarten teacher for most of my teaching career, and I joined Chicago Heights School District as a kindergarten teacher. So I was familiar with that grade level. And then when I became the curriculum instructional specialist for the district, one of the things that I wanted to do was take a closer look at grade reporting. We just needed a better tool to communicate more accurately to parents about what our students were learning, and also to hold teachers a little more accountable and have some consistency in what was being taught at the grade level. So that's how we started our journey, was looking at the kindergarten report card. And we began with doing some research at what was going on with grading and reporting out there at a national level. We really looked all across the country as far as, you know, what everyone was doing now, so that when we were updating, we were current and research-based with our decisions. And fortunately, TeacherEase was right there for us and helped us with the process. Next slide, I guess, Joe. So as I stated, our first step was with kindergarten. And I got a team of teachers, team of kindergarten teachers to take on the task. And kindergarten was kind of a different animal because it doesn't use, at our district anyway, it doesn't use a grade book. So we had more of a skills-based report card that we wanted to use. So we needed to create some assessment lists because we did not have a grade book. And TeacherEase was able to allow us, if you can see on the slide, to show skills that kindergarten students were needing to perform on. So you see the letters, being able to circle what letters they knew, what sounds they knew, what numbers they knew, the sounds that they knew. And all those options were available for us through TeacherEase. We also could create our own grading scales that you see at the top. So we had overall grades, we had some SEL grades, and then we had specific skill grades, all available through TeacherEase. And then once we had our kindergarten report card created, we had such tremendous feedback. It was received so well, not only by our teachers, but by the community, by parents, and even the students were excited because they knew exactly what they needed to learn in school. So then we decided to roll out the next grade level, which was first grade. And what worked for us in that process is that it allowed the class that we had started in kindergarten to follow the report card into first grade. So when those kindergarten students who had had the standards-based report card moved to first grade, we had it ready for them in first grade. And it worked really well. So the report card ended up following that class. We had a transition as a team when developing our new report cards from grades 1 through 5. We had to switch over to using the grade book, which was just a little bit different in our process. So what we needed to do was take a more specific look at the standards, at the Common Core standards, and create learning targets based on those standards. And we really worked hard to make sure, because you cannot in any way put every standard on a report card. So you really do have to choose carefully the learning targets that will show and cover all of those standards. And we did create documents for the teachers that would align the learning target with what standards were kind of umbrellaed underneath that learning target, if that makes sense. And TeacherEase really guided me through this process in how to set up those learning targets for each overall content area. And we did a lot of research, reading a lot of the books and resources that I know we'll share at the end of this webinar, just to help in that process as far as how many learning targets you want to include in each content, and kind of how that process works. And then once we did the standard study and created our most important learning targets for each content area, TeacherEase, showed us the way about how to creating assignments within those content areas. And it was extremely user-friendly for teachers. Everything is just plug in and go as far as creating assignments. It's step-by-step, it's very self-explanatory. And teachers are really able to customize each assignment that they do and use that assignment for its specific purposes. And you can see here, they can title it, they can type it, the date, and then they create their learning targets, and they can determine how it's graded, or maybe it isn't graded. Maybe it's just practice. So TeacherEase really allows you to customize each assignment for that teacher's use. And I think the most important piece to creating the assignments in the gradebook for these report cards are the ability to add the learning targets to each assignment and assessment. This is so important for the teachers. They are really able to be specific with their grading by choosing any and all learning targets that apply to that assessment. So if you're doing an assessment that is really looking at 2 or 3 different learning targets, you can check those 3 boxes, and then you will be able to enter scores for each learning target, which helps make grading very specific and very telling to the teachers and to the parents. And you can see in here, after you've created that assignment and you have linked it to learning targets, you can see right here that there are 2 columns that state the learning targets, and then you can enter separate scores for those learning targets. You may have students that really do well on one learning target and have mastered that, and you can show that separately than maybe a learning target or standard that they're struggling with and may need some more support. And this translates into the grade book. And you're also able, as you can see, to add specific comments. If we have special ed students or students with IEPs, you can create a comment that allows it to say that the assignment was modified. And that's another thing that working with TeacherEase, you can create your own custom comment list, that things that you want to say for your specific district that apply to you. So we have worked and created different comment lists for different grade levels for different purposes, and we just plug those in where they apply. And then once you enter those scores in the gradebook, you can see here, this is an actual gradebook. And at the top, I have my big red arrow pointing to the learning target / standard that kind of umbrellas all of those assignments. So all of the assignments in the blue area at the top are all assignments that are linked to that specific learning target. Now, if you were to scroll further right in that grade book, you would see multiple learning targets. All the learning targets for, I believe, we're in reading in this one. You would see all of the learning targets and all of the assignments that are linked below each learning target, which is just an amazing way to organize the gradebook. And it just allows the teachers to see where they need to do some more assessing, if necessary, and just allow to track learning trends with those learning targets. And then below, you'll see all of the assignments and their grades. The grades, we use a 4-3-2-1 skills scale. And so each one is color coded, which makes it very visually simple to see which children are struggling, which children are succeeding. And you can use this to create small groups, identify trends that you need to reteach. It's just very user-friendly for the teacher. You can also see places in this gradebook where you see assignments that aren't being graded, but are just handed in with the little hand in symbol or the little magnifying glass saying they're missing. So a teacher can keep track of those as well. And then on the far left, you see the little circles next to their overall grade, and that those little donuts, as I know Joe calls them, they will show how many learning targets a student has mastered versus how many they have not mastered yet. So just lots of great information available through the gradebook. And then another piece in our transition from traditional to standards-based grading, that TeacherEase really was wonderful at allowing us to transition with our grading scales. And, you know, I was learning as I went along here, and the tech people really supported me on understanding what my options were as far as how I could grade and what would work. And we moved from having a traditional grading scale with some standards-based skills underneath to having the second in the middle there, you see having the standards-based overall grades with standards-based skill grades, but still relying on a percentage to kind of transition, because I know it's really difficult sometimes for some teachers to let go of that traditional grading scale and to really understand and make that connection with the rubric scales. So we did have a period where they were kind of using both just to understand it and to internalize it. And then finally, we moved to the complete standards-based grading scale, which you see at the bottom with the color codes and the 4-3-2-1 learning target, or skills grades. And what was very unique and very helpful from TeacherEase is that we had some of these going at one time, all of these going at one time in the district. And it was a little overwhelming for a while as we transitioned through. But now we are K-5 all the way to the bottom scale for standards-based grading. So it was wonderful tech support. And another piece of our puzzle is that we have definitely moved to separating our academic grades from our conduct grades. Right now, we have a brand new middle school building that was opened last year. And of course, it was a sad opening for our building because we were all remote learning due to the pandemic. So we have not moved forward with standards-based grading in the middle school. We just haven't gotten to that point. However, they have separated the academic from the conduct grades in support of our grading policy in the district. So, TeacherEase is able to support this, having these grades going on at the middle school separate. And then I did speak about our grading policy, which is making a huge difference in the transition from traditional to standards-based grading. I think any district that is trying to adopt standards-based grading needs to look at their grading policy, if not first, at least while you are transitioning to standards-based grading. These changes are kind of at the foundation of standards-based grading. Things like practice, calling homework practice, not homework, and not grading practice. That was very important. It made our academic grades more authentic, and we didn't see inflated grades due to homework. We also adopted a no zero policy. Again, zeros in grades are usually more because of conduct and not really reflecting academic ability. So we took out zeros from our grade book, and now students need to get the work done and earn the grade, or it's just incomplete. We also added reassessments and retakes to those students that had lower grades. We wanted to support them in their learning and make grading about learning, not gotcha moments. So we allow for reassessments and retakes, and that's been a significant change in our grading policy. And then we also took extra credit out of grading. This also inflates grades and does not reflect true academic ability. So that extra credit is no longer an option. And then, as I said earlier, we did separate our conduct grades from our academic grades. We wanted a true reflection of student performance, and sometimes that doesn't always go along with conduct. You can have students that their conduct and behavior is poor, but they can tell you everything that you're teaching in that classroom. So we wanted to make sure there was a definite break from that. So those were the changes that really influenced our grading. And then while doing all of this, I've had nothing but positive feedback from, interestingly enough, our students. When the teachers implemented the standards-based grading with the learning targets, the specific goals that we have for them, students were actually saying, oh my goodness, I know what I have to learn now. Instead of just getting a reading grade, I see these 7 or 8 learning targets that will help me get to a better reading grade, that they understand what they need to learn. And they really want to try it again. Can I do it better? I think I can do it better. Can I try again? I really understand now what you're trying to teach me. And so the feedback from students has been tremendous. And the same goes for the feedback from our teachers. The same types of things. My students are understanding that they can work to improve their grade. Just because we had a test and they did really poorly, that's not it. Learning doesn't just stop when a test is given. We want to support those students that maybe didn't understand it, have them try some more learning, have them do a little bit more work, and come back and see that they can improve their grade if they put forth that effort. We really focused on feedback. Teachers gave a lot of feedback through standards-based learning and grading. And the students are benefiting. They're understanding. They're not just getting a test back with red marks on it. They're getting feedback so that they can learn better. And that's what grading is all about, right? Showing what they've learned. So yeah, the teachers are very happy with all of our report cards. They're happy with the process. TeacherEase is easy. They plug in the assignments and they don't have to do any more work. They import grades, report cards show up, and send them home. And it's been a wonderful process.
I love hearing that.